I didn't launch a business based on an idea. I launched a business because I wanted to launch a business, which is very different. I was learning at every single meeting, pretending I knew, but like trying to keep control of the conversation by knowing that I knew nothing about it.
Hi, this is Abby, and welcome to the Adikteev podcast. If you are seeking to grow your business in mind, this is the place to be. Today, I have Emilien, who is an entrepreneur in every sense of the word. He is the co-founder and CRO at Adikteev, which is a leading app re-engagement platform. Also has been listed as La French Tech Top 120 companies with more than $50 million revenue. Emilien is also an investor and has been mentoring youngsters in the tech world. And thank you for joining me today. I'm so pleased and so excited.
Thank you, Abby. I'm very happy to be here today. I think it's your first one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to be the first one as well.
Yes, I would like to begin with something that you recently mentioned at a gym event. You said that one does not necessarily have to have a groundbreaking business idea. You don't have to have a perfect business plan. And that's how many people perceive the myths I really saw resurfing on the internet was that you need to have a perfect business plan if you want to step into the tech world. So what is your take on that?
Yeah. So first to clarify things, so we went to the same school, obviously not at the same moment. But yeah, we went to the same school and we were attending both that event where I was a speaker. And many young future, I hope, entrepreneur came to me and told me that they didn't have the greatest idea ever so that they couldn't launch their business because of this. And I was like, I didn't launch a business based on an idea. I launched a business because I wanted to launch a business, which is very different. So I think that you don't need to revolutionize things. Let's be honest. Our business today is not revolutionizing anything. It's still advertising, it's performance advertising. We do things, I hope, better than our competitors, or at least we try to. And sometimes it's just enough. Not all the business are changing the world, to be honest. And even if you aim at changing the world, maybe start with something that won't, and later on you can do so. So I think on top of that you don't need to have an idea that will really change your markets or that will be something so innovative. At Adikteev, we innovated a lot by copying the others, which means just sometimes taking an idea that is working somewhere and trying to execute that well and then improving it on the long run is better than coming with a groundbreaking thing that may not fit to the market as it is today. So when we started Adikteev a few years ago, it was actually based on an idea that was already existing in the US, raised money, etc. From there, then we pivoted, etc. But we really started from there, and it was also reassuring a lot our investors back in those days because we came with something really concrete. And the play was not to figure out the go-to-market, but more for them to assess if we would be the best people to execute the idea. Because the idea was existing already, making money already on another market, which was very close to the European one, on the US market. So no need to validate like any product market fit, which is great also for an investor, because what you need to understand is that when you raise money, and we're obliged to raise money because we're not like tech people, so we needed to hire tech people to develop a tech product. So when you go to investors to raise money, what they try to do is to measure how risky this is to invest on you. And if you come with something that already had a go-to-market successful in a country that is similar to yours, or at least in a market that is similar to the one you wanna address, it will make their life easier for investors, because the only thing that they have to assess really is your capability.
Indeed.
to execute that vision and that idea.
We had a brief conversation about what innovation really means. And many people perceive innovation as this new groundbreaking idea that you have to have. So it's pretty interesting the way you mentioned that. You could just use an idea that is already existing in the market and then just try to build it in a way that serves the purpose better.
Yeah, and I think it's valid not only in the tech environment, but in many environments. Look at some restaurants that are working very well. Some are doing burgers and the other one are doing burgers. But one is really successful and the other one is not. So you can have the quality. So it's highly dependent to the quality of what you produce, obviously, but it's also highly dependent to the marketing. So you can innovate in many fields. You don't need to innovate in the core of your product.
Right.
You don't need to be Apple and launch a brand new way to interact with a phone. You don't need to do this. And there are many companies that just never had a groundbreaking innovation. And they're still here making a lot of money and you can still be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure, everyone is dreaming about being Steve Jobs, but like there won't be many. So if you expect being Steve Jobs by becoming an entrepreneur, I wish you could, but you have more chance not to build a company at all.
How you got the idea of becoming an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people, they're very much intrigued by the fact what entrepreneurship is and they think it's very fancy. Do you think it's in everyone's blood to become an entrepreneur? Do they need to have certain traits?
I don't know. I think you need to be resilient, because it's a long way if you want to be successful, and it's pretty rare that you're successful at the very first company you launch, but it could happen. I'm listening a lot of podcasts about people who succeeded very early in their career, but I'm also a big fan of those who just learned a lot through the mistakes they made, and they made many mistakes and they failed a lot, and it's okay to fail. And you need to be okay with the idea of failing and of making bad calls at some points. I think you need to be in peace with this idea.
Yeah.
First, and also the security layer is important. It's how you feel in terms of like how much you need in terms of security in your professional life. I think this is very important. If you need like high security level, I mean, maybe don't become an entrepreneur because it's not secure at all. Right. Until you achieve a certain point, for sure, but it's not secure at all. I will compare that with being an actor. Like you have more chances to fail than to succeed. If you succeed, then you're bankable and it becomes your security layer, let's say. But before that, you have way more chances to fail, and you need to be in peace with this idea to fail. That's very important. And then failing once is okay, failing twice is okay, even 3 times is okay, as much as you can. I mean, as you can accept at all, is okay. If you want to be an entrepreneur, just go and do it. But you need to be resilient and to accept the idea of failure. I think it's very important. And then, you mentioned something that is okay. I spoke about it on the private side of things because we know each other quite a bit. Like the reason why I became an entrepreneur is actually because my stepfather told me once that I was smart, but maybe not political enough to step up in a big company and to climb the ladder to the top, and that maybe I would have rather work for myself and make my own money versus working for someone else and trying to do so in a big group. And I don't know why, but I think I trusted him a lot about this because he knew me maybe better than I did at this time. And I was like, okay, so maybe it's the right path. Maybe I need to do so, and maybe I'll never be very happy in a company and be capped at some point, etc. So truth is that I never tried. So let's be honest, I cannot know, and I may never know. But that's how I became let's say I adopted that entrepreneur mindset, I think.
It's just amazing how at certain point of life, there can be one person who could just give you one message, one advice or a service that can just bring in, resurface something, a skill in you that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, I think for me it was more kind of someone reading me more than I could in the way I was behaving at the time, and not being very much under control, and willing to do things, and like kind of when you're young, you want to revolutionize many things, etc. And it was more like the continuation of that path of trying to revolutionize. No, with age, let's be honest, I don't want to revolutionize anything anymore, or let's say I choose my battles differently. But like when you're young and you're very pushy and you don't want to listen to people, and so I think that's a pattern for many young people. And then when it comes to doing it, like, okay, no, I want to keep control of my life. So if you want to keep control of your life, what's best than building your own company and building your own professional life? That's the best way to do so. But many parents then are telling their kids, no, you need something like more stable, more comfortable for XYZ reason.
Yeah.
And I had the chance to have parents who told me, let's go, let's try it. If you don't try, you'll never know. And I assume when you just finish your school and you come from, let's say, a stable family, you're not in the need of making money straight away, which is very important as well. And you also don't have a lot of needs because you don't have a family, you don't have kids. So, like, you can put yourself at risk a lot easier.
I certainly agree with that part. And this is the reason why we actually decided to start with this, because we felt most of you who are looking to create a business, you might need to know from people who have actually stepped into this world how they did it, because we're all humans at the end of the day. We all have had similar struggles. So it's a great way to see what people have gone through and try to analyze your situation and follow the path. I would like to briefly discuss about imposter syndrome. It's kind of in tandem with what we're talking about. It's because when you're young, you constantly listen to people around you that, oh, you need to have a proper job, as we had discussed. You need to have a proper job, and you should be prepared before you step into it. And we often listen to this nasty little lie inside our head that tells us that, oh, you're not ready enough. That holds us back. So what do you have to say about that?
I had it on my mind when I became a dad for the first time. And I think, so when you read all the studies, you can see that in general, women have more imposter syndrome than men. I think for becoming a dad or a parent at all, the men have more the imposter syndrome than women. Let's be honest. Like I felt like I was like, no, I'm not ready. I'll never be ready. And I was that. I was not for sure. But yeah, you just do it. You just do it. And entrepreneurship for me is the same. Just before we tackle your imposter syndrome thing and we go deeper into this, something I heard also a lot from the people who want to become entrepreneur. I heard a lot of excuses not to do it. Some of them are related to money. And I want to emphasize the fact that the younger you start, the better this is. Because if your plan is to get a family at some point, it's even harder. And I respect a lot of people who just drop a job and then becoming entrepreneur when they have kids, families, etc. Because it's a lot more difficult. Because you have a lot more pressure. You have the social pressure of succeeding because you had a great job or just a job with money, and you're not making money now. And you have the family pressure, and you have people relying on you, and that's valid for both men or women. So, it's easier to do something when you're young, because I failed when I was young, and the impact was only on me. And at that time, I was with my wife, who was my girlfriend, and it was on her as well. But let's say she had a job, and she was okay with it. So I mean, no, if I had to do it again with 2 kids and a wife and a house and credits and all those stuff, well, let's say, yeah, maybe I won't as well. Because yeah, it's a lot more pressure. It's a lot more pressure. So I just want to emphasize that it's easier to start younger first, and if not, to figure out how to cover your monetary risk, because yeah, finances is important here. And to come back to the imposter syndrome, there is that famous phrase, which is, and especially for entrepreneurs, like fake it until you make it. And
Yes.
I feel like it's exactly that. So you feel an imposter until you're not anymore. So when we started in the tech industry, I knew nothing about tech. And my co-founder, he knew nothing about tech. But I assume, yeah, we did it. Like we fake it a lot at the time, telling stories or trying to get a sense of what we were doing. Back in the days, I can remember I had some meetings with clients at the very beginning of the product, and I knew nothing about the market. So I was learning at every single meeting, pretending I knew, but like trying to keep control of the conversation by knowing that I knew nothing about it. And I was just learning from my clients and a lot of stuff. When I was coming back at the office, I was like, okay, so now I have to ask someone or go on Google and just know what it was like at this time, like a CPM, which is cost per meal, cost per impression.
Yes.
I didn't know what this was, so I discovered that through a client conversation when he was talking about CPC, CPM, etc. And I pretend at the time I was knowing what it was about, and then when I came back to the office, so I learned. So I mean, yeah, imposter syndrome is a thing, but I think it's just a matter of how curious you are to face it, and also how much you're ready to push it. There are some, like you had some big stories, especially in the US, through big companies in the crypto finance, for instance, or recently with WeWork, for instance, and we have like I know a very large prosecution, right, in the US right now, and all those guys, like they it's obvious now that it was fake, many things, but there is a difference between faking and cheating.
Right. I totally agree with that.
This is very important to notice that difference. There is stuff you can fake until you make, and it's okay. Imposter syndrome for me should be valid for some people when they're just lying and cheating on others. But faking it is okay. I mean, many people, especially the investors, they most of them, they know that you're not the perfect entrepreneur. Like it doesn't exist. So for me, it's okay. They assume it's a part of their risk if you fake it. And the difficulty is to recognize people faking it but want to make it ultimately, or just the one that will cheat their whole life. And sometimes it pops up and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, that's the main difference.
Interesting. I mean, if you embrace the idea of imposter syndrome in a positive manner, which is, let's say, to dive deeper into the subject, you might feel, oh, you don't know that enough. But like you said, if you try to learn about the subject matter, I mean, there will come a time when you would know that you're not faking it, but you've actually embraced it.
Yeah, and then the question, like, who am I to become an entrepreneur, or like, how can I make sure I can be successful enough because I'm not the smartest person I know, etc., etc. It's just like you versus you. So yeah, just stop thinking about that and just try it, and you'll see, and you'll get your answer ultimately. But like, just for me, it's another excuse. The imposter syndrome is another excuse not to do things.
It is an excuse.
Yeah, what I want is getting rid of excuses, because life is a matter of just like, don't get any excuse, do it. It's as if like, that's something I do every year, but I'm like, oh no, this year I'm gonna do way more sports, and I can tell all the stories I want to myself. Thing is that if I don't do more, it's not because I cannot or I don't have time, etc. It's just a matter of willingness. And then you can look, and I do it, like everyone is doing it. Like you can lie to yourself. I cannot become an entrepreneur because of this and this and this. No, come on. It's like sport. If you want to do it, just do it.
Just step into it. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think your metric of life should be the that you're into the game, not the perfection part of it.
Yeah, and something important is stop bullshitting yourself.
Indeed.
Like, don't tell you lies. Like, you can tell lies to everybody around you if you want to, but at least be honest with yourself. And if you think you can do it, do it. If you don't, stop speaking about it. That's a waste of time. You know, I stopped telling my wife every year that this year I'm going to do like 5 hours of sport every week. Because at some point, like, people are just fed up with it, and you're going to be fed up with yourself. So
Yeah.
stop telling lies to yourself. Be very honest and transparent, and no excuse. No excuse.
Indeed. If you've decided to step into the game, just step into it.
Exactly.
And yeah, not holding yourself back just because you think, oh, you're not ready yet. I personally suffered from it myself because I believe I had this project in mind last year, and it took me quite a lot of time to come to the conclusion. I think you just need to step in.
But like, time to prepare things is different. If you're inside something and you take more time to prepare things and work on that, and the investment that you need could sometimes not be compatible with what you're doing, like your job, etc. in parallel. So figuring out the right moment is something, because sometimes it's just not the right moment, and it's okay. It's not even an excuse, it's just a fact. But then knowing that, you can plan around that, and you can get prepared, and you can also know which boxes you need to tick. So for me, it's a difference. You know, there is a difference between getting prepared and just having excuses not to do things. Right. As well. So I don't excuse you, because you surely could have done that way faster, but still, I think it's a good thing to get prepared and doing something that is at the level of quality that you want it to be, versus just rushing into things.
Right. That's an important factor as well, which is not rushing. Taking your time. It's like a fair balance, you know. If you were to create a dish, you would know how much salt to put in, and just dealing with the balance at the end of the day. So Emilia, I know that you also have been on the other side of the table because you're also an investor. So again, trying to link it, how do you see, when you think of investing in a person, what do you see in a person apart from the business plan?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I'm not a very successful investor, to be honest, but I didn't do a lot. But many of my friends did investments, and I'm co-investing with some of them. That's very interesting. I mean, for me, it's it's maybe less risky than to put that on the stock markets, that money. Let's be honest. I don't know. I never know when it's gonna work or not. I try to get a sense of that, but I invested in companies that I trusted a lot, and they get bankrupt. And I invested in companies and people, and I was like, okay, let's do that because some of my friends did, and like, I don't know, I'm not 100% confident, so I just put a small amount of money, and then the company skyrocketed the market. So let's say I'm not a very good investor, sorry, but what I try to do is knowing the people and evaluating their capability to execute. Because again, I went through that. In a company life, you could have several lives, and what matters the most is your resilience, your capability to adapt to a new market or something that is happening in your core market, and the way you can pivot or just even survive. So for instance, in the real estate market right now, I think the most important is how are you going to survive? Because it's a mess around, like many things are crashing, etc. So that could be difficult. That was the same for restaurants during COVID. How are you going to survive? And sometimes you just cannot. And that's the way it is. And you need to be strong enough to accept that and try again.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there are no perfect truth, and maybe professional investors could give you a better answer. For me, at my scale, I try to have fun. So I try to accompany people when I think not only my money, but also my brain could bring something for them. And I could be kind of helpful, at least at the very beginning. If I cannot be helpful, if the idea is great, even if the idea is great, I may not invest. But if the idea is great and some of my friends that I trust are also investing, maybe I'll go just for fun because it's my friends and it's funny to speak about this and it's also something that you can discuss during the dinners and stuff. So it's kind of a social boundaries thing sometimes when you can make it. And most of the time, if I invest, I really try to get a fit with the entrepreneur and figure out if I can have fun with them and if I can break something, help them one or another. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. Let's say, not a professional investor again. So I'm not very pushy on the money. What I want is really, I only invest money that is not risky for me. I think this is something very important, and this is very different from being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur, it's my whole life. It's my, it's the way I run my professional and personal life. It's what I need to live.
Right.
So I only invest money that I know I don't need it to live, and I won't regret it. Which means for me, it's kind of going to the casino, maybe, and for others, making a bet, but on something that you could influence more than just playing roulette and just waiting for the good number.